Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's kick off today's story with a man named Mark, a walking red flag with a limp and a temper. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Used a scooter because of my disability. Got followed by a man who thinks he owns it. So this happened the other day at my local grocery store. I pulled into the lot and parked in a handicap spot. Yes, I have the proper handicap plates. I've got COPD and partial paralysis, so yeah, I'm not just using the space because it's closer or convenient, it's a necessity. Anyway, I'm making my way toward the entrance at my usual pace, slow but steady, when I notice this guy approaching from another direction. He's walking kind of like I do, stiff, favoring one side, a little uneven. So I think, okay, maybe he's dealing with something too, not my business. But I notice he reaches the entrance just before I do and grabs a grocery cart. Then, weirdly, he stops at the wall of employee photos near the front of the store. You know, the ones with Employee of the Month and all that, and kisses one of the pictures. Like full-on presses his lips to the glass. I don't even know how to describe it. Affectionate, but also kind of unhinged. I have questions, but I keep them to myself and carefully step around them. Inside the store, I'm relieved to see there's still one of the motorized scooters available, those battery-powered carts for folks who can't manage walking a whole store. These things are gold when you need them, and more often than not, they're all taken. I make my way over and settle into the last one. Just grateful I don't have to limp my way through the frozen foods aisle today. But no sooner have I sat down than I hear this guy absolutely explode. "That scooter is for me," he bellows across the entryway. I turn, stunned. "Excuse me?" He starts hobbling toward me, abandoning his cart. "You saw me. You knew I needed that scooter." I'm honestly floored. How was I supposed to know? I ask. "You already had a cart. You didn't say anything." "You should have known," he snaps, like he expects me to read minds now. And I'm sitting there thinking, buddy, if the scooter was that important to you, why didn't you get it first? Why the detour to make out with the photo wall? But before I can say anything else, he spins around and storms up to customer service, still fuming. I see him waving his arms and pointing back at me like I've stolen something. Meanwhile, I'm just sitting on the scooter with a loaf of bread in my lap, wondering if I'm about to get kicked out of the store for using a mobility device I actually need. The customer service desk takes one look at me, then back at him, and you can tell this isn't their first rodeo with him. One of the employees sighs and says, "Mark, she got it first. Too bad. No apologies, no further argument, just, Mark, not today." He clearly wasn't happy with that answer, so what does he do next? He starts following me, like literally pushing his cart behind me while muttering things under his breath. I keep hearing words like faker, thief, and a few choice insults I won't repeat. He's not yelling anymore, just hovering, like I'm some villain who's stolen his rightful throne on the electric scooter. I try to ignore him. I focus on my list and try to get what I came for, milk, eggs, a few frozen dinners, whatever. But every time I turn a corner, there he is, glaring at me like I ran over his dog. It's uncomfortable, embarrassing, and honestly kind of scary. I didn't want a confrontation, I just wanted groceries and a way to get through the store without collapsing. When I finally check out, I'm kind of expecting him to make a scene at the register, but he doesn't. He just stands a few feet away and watches like I've committed some unspeakable crime. The cashier rings me up quickly and leans in a bit to say, "Sorry about that." He does this a lot. Apparently, Mark's a known problem. He always waits until someone else takes the scooter, then complains it was supposed to be his, she adds. We've tried talking to him, but she trails off and gives me a look that says, "What can you do?" I thanked her, took my bag, and scooted on out of there as fast as the thing would go. So yeah, that's my story. Just a regular trip to the store made extra special by a man with a temper and an obsession with employee photo walls. If he's like that every time, why do they keep letting him in? Whichever employee he's related to needs to be told that if he continues this pattern, he'll be tossed out. And our second story. HOA said my house was too intimidating. I said, thanks. When my uncle passed, he left me his house tucked away in a North Carolina neighborhood that looked like it had been ripped straight from a suburban time capsule. Think early 2000s builder-grade suburbia, beige stucco homes with identical trim, dusty rose landscaping rocks, and folks who mowed their lawns like they were competing in a turf design championship. Everyone kept to themselves unless you waved first, and even then, the return wave came with a side of suspicion. I hadn't planned on living there, but with the market being what it is and the house completely paid off, it was too good to pass up. It needed some TLC, sure, but the bones were good. Solid foundation, decent layout, and just enough space to stretch out. Perfect for someone like me, especially since I work in design and like having projects to sink my teeth into. First order of business, kill the beige. The whole neighborhood looked like a sepia-toned filter had been slapped on it. My soul itched just looking at it, so I drafted a plan. Matte black with warm cedar accents, minimalist but not stark, bold but not obnoxious. It'd stand out in the best way. I even mocked up 3D renderings and printed a packet that would have made HGTV weep. I submitted it to the Architectural Control Committee, ACC, with full confidence. 1 week later, I had written approval in my inbox. The painters were halfway done when she emerged, Karen, self-appointed gatekeeper of the neighborhood's taste, style, and soul. HOA president, of course. Her expression was pure vinegar as she power-walked up my driveway. "Excuse me," she snapped as if I were vandalizing a church. "What do you think you're doing?" I turned, paint splattered and holding a coffee in one hand. "Painting. Got ACC approval. Want to see it?" She looked at the document. "Black isn't harmonious with the neighborhood," she huffed. "It's aggressive, intimidating. This is a family community." I deadpanned, "It's a house, not a UFC octagon." She didn't laugh. Of course she didn't. She started furiously scribbling in her notebook, muttering about emergency meetings and neighborhood values before storming off like she had somewhere important to be. The next morning, the email started. Then came a certified letter claiming I was in violation of the HOA's color standards, even though the CCRs didn't ban black. Her new stance was that the ACC had made a mistake and should reconsider their position or resign. That's when Joe, one of the ACC members, called me directly. "Hey, just so you know," he said, "Karen's lost her mind over your house. But I gotta tell you, it looks fantastic, like something out of a magazine." I thanked him, and he added, "She's trying to get us all kicked off the committee for approving it." I told her she can take a walk. Karen didn't let up. She circulated a petition to force me to repaint. I heard she even knocked on doors in the middle of the day in the heat like it was her own personal crusade. No one signed. Some didn't even open the door. At the next HOA meeting, she stood up, red-faced, fists clenched, ranting about neighborhood integrity, while most folks stared into their laps or suddenly found their phones very interesting. A few even shot me sympathetic looks like, "We love it, but please don't involve us in your war." I wasn't about to roll over. I had written approval and a lawyer who doesn't charge much to write scary letters. We sent a cease and desist, complete with phrases like harassment, retaliation, and breach of duty. That shut things down, at least publicly. Karen still stares. I see her peeking out from behind her curtains, camera in hand, probably building her next PowerPoint presentation of doom for the board. Once, I caught her pacing in her front yard, muttering like a Sims character who couldn't reach the fridge. Bonus. 2 other houses just outside the HOA boundary have since repainted, deep grays, charcoals, even a navy one. One neighbor left a note in my mailbox asking for my designer's info. I guess black is contagious. As for Karen, she's retreated into her beige fortress, surrounded by beige neighbors, leading a beige rebellion that no one cares about. Her clipboard's collecting dust, her campaign fizzled. "Let there be color." You showed her the ACC approval like a normal adult. She reacted like you handed her a court summons. "Ma'am, it's paint, not battle mech." But sure, let's all pretend a charcoal trim is what's endangering the community and not, say, the rising interest rates. And our last story. Rich Karen thinks the beach belongs to her. I live in San Diego and spend most of my weekends playing beach volleyball with a regular group. We've been setting up nets in the same spot on the bay for nearly 2 years without issue. The beach is public. That's important. Public beach, not private. Not partially private, not technically open to the public, but I own the sand. It's just public. Still, that hasn't stopped one of the local homeowners from going full Karen on us lately. The first few months we played there, everything was smooth. Locals would sometimes stop to watch. A few would even join a game here and there. It was fun. But recently, a few bayfront homeowners have been complaining during their community meetings. Apparently, we're hogging beach space. Mind you, our nets are spaced respectfully, and there's plenty of sand left for walkers, sunbathers, and whatever else people want to do. But suddenly, it became a problem for some of them. The main antagonist, a woman we've dubbed Beach Chair Karen. She lives in a $2 million house with a balcony that overlooks our usual playing spot, and for the past month or so, she's been trying to stake her claim on a public beach using the most passive-aggressive tool imaginable, empty beach chairs. We showed up one Saturday morning to find a semicircle of random beach chairs just sitting in the middle of our usual court area. Nobody was around, no towels, no umbrellas, just a sad lineup of chairs sitting there like ghosts of beachgoers that never arrived. We figured maybe a family had stepped away and decided to move down the beach a bit to give them space, but it kept happening. Every weekend, the same arrangement. Chairs spread out like landmines exactly where our nets usually go. Eventually, we started just moving the chairs aside. We weren't damaging them, just shifting them over. But that was apparently enough to trigger Karen. The first time she made her presence known, we were halfway into a game when she leaned over her second-floor balcony and started shouting, "You can't just move people's property. Those chairs are there for a reason." Someone from our group shouted back, "The beach is public. You can't reserve it with empty chairs." Her response, "Oh, I don't care. I'll keep putting them there every weekend if it means you'll stop playing." She never came down, never used the chairs, never touched the beach at all, just sat on her little balcony watching like the final boss of HOA land. We kept playing, and every time we moved her chair, she'd shout something new. Threats about calling the police, noise complaints, vague mumbling about community bylaws. It became a weekend ritual. Set up nets, relocate ghost chairs, hear Karen yell. Eventually, she followed through and actually called the police. We were halfway through the doubles game when a patrol car pulled up. An officer got out and walked over. Karen, of course, was standing on her balcony like she'd finally won. The officer asked what was going on. We explained everything, how we'd been playing there for years, how it's public land, how we've tried compromising by bringing the nets closer together to free up space. He nodded, asked to see ID, then walked over and spoke to Karen for a minute. Then he came back and said, "You guys are fine, just try and keep things respectful." "Always do," I replied. She lost her damn mind. "I'm going to file a formal complaint," she screamed from the balcony. "You're disturbing the peace." The officer just shrugged and walked back to his car. "It's a public beach, ma'am." And that was it. She fumed and paced her balcony, but didn't say much after that. Still, she hasn't stopped. The chairs still show up, sometimes new ones, sometimes in increasingly weird arrangements. One week, she added a cooler in the middle like it was some kind of beach Stonehenge. Another time, there were plastic flamingos guarding the chairs. We moved those too. Set them up like our own cheering section. Honestly, we've started to treat it like a game of its own now, a pre-volleyball mini-mission. Clear Karen's defenses, set up nets, ignore her screams. We're planning to attend the next community meeting to speak up. We've got Parks and Rec on our side. We've spoken with them several times. They've confirmed we're allowed to play there as long as we're not blocking access or damaging anything, which we're not. But we know this isn't really about rules, it's about entitlement. Karen thinks because she has money and a view, she owns the sand below her house, and the fact that we're a group of 20 and 30-somethings out there having fun without her permission drives her absolutely nuts. Update. In the end, the community board drafted a formal notice stating that any attempts to deliberately obstruct permitted recreational activity on public beaches would be considered harassment and referred to the city. Parks and Rec co-signed it. A physical copy was posted on the beach access gate and hand-delivered to Karen's house. Simple fact of the matter, you cannot exclusively reserve public property without getting some sort of official city permit or reservation, and those are not generally offered on the beach. Beach-adjacent property owners in California are notorious for trying to make their beach more private by all sorts of extra legal means that don't hold up. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.